Zoom here as well. So that's great. That's great. And everyone's very welcome. Very welcome to turn on your camera and say hello as well. So JP is my name. I run the business for Scout here in Europe, and we help sell cyber as a service. We're a cyber as a service company. But we thought we'd, in the world of, 1 hour Zooms and webinars and Teams, and we just wanted to really connect with some of our friends, and I'm absolutely thrilled that Chris Tate is joining us today, first of our guests on this coffee chat, tea chat, whatever, we want to say, maybe a hot chocolate or whatever it might be, Chris. So cheers to you, and cheers
Yes.
to everybody that's joining. So the goal here, Chris, is just having that break in the day and get to know you and get to know the company, but really um try to sort of start off and see in a world that we're living in with all things COVID and lockdowns, and we thought we might keep a positive spin on it as well. And there's been a lot of positive things that have happened this year. So it'd be great to sort of reflect back a little bit as we go towards the end of the year, Chris, and what's worked well for you. I mean, you're working from home now. Have you always been working from home, or was it a big transition personally?
No, I've worked from home quite a bit. I mean, interestingly, it literally just occurred to me as you started speaking there that I've been trying to do this kind of thing since lockdown started, as in I've got a regular appointment in my calendar every Friday afternoon. I think it's 4:30, and it's just in there as Friday mystery call. And what I try and do is I try and call someone. I get the video on
No.
FaceTime or WhatsApp or
Yeah.
something, and call someone that I wouldn't normally speak to, because I figured that it's kind of important every now and again just to sort of surprise people and say ex-colleagues or people within the industry. So it's a little bit like that today, but with a kind of
Right.
wider audience. But I think that I almost see that as a positive, because I'm probably speaking to more people in a strange kind of roundabout way than I would have done normally.
That's it.
But to answer your question, yeah, I mean, I've always worked from home, but I've done a lot of traveling. So I guess this year I'm doing the working from home portion without the
Yeah.
traveling. So I'm
Yeah.
just at home all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people find it difficult as well, like that transition. Um, you know, Working from home and transitioning that daytime into nighttime, and like, are you in the is there, you have a little office space and it's all sort of working out well for you? Have you any of those moving desks, Chris?
No, I've did not.
Stand-up desks?
I redecorated the room, so I did look at standing desks. They're a bit more expensive. I thought, am I ever going to use it? And I kind of
Okay.
came to the conclusion, no. I'm literally, because I'm working from home. This is a downside of working from home,
Yeah.
is I'm up every 15 minutes making a cup of tea anyway. There's no rounds of making tea and coffee. It's always me. Everyone's down to me. So I'm kind of getting quite a bit of exercise walking back and forwards to the kitchen. So I decided against the stand-up desk, but I have got a separate area, and I think that is what your point there was really, really key. I found is what I found early on. I used to
Mm.
work from the kitchen table, and I
Ah,
think that the problem with that is that every time in the evening I was going to make a cup of tea or get something to eat, I was walking past the laptop and the monitor and the keyboard, and I was just thinking, "Oh, I'll see what's going on. I'll see what's happening."
yeah.
And and like now, I'm working for an international company. The problem with that is they're always online, so you kind of expected to work 24/7 almost. And so I think
Yeah.
it's really important to have some kind of
Yeah.
start and end point to the day when working from home. So what I
Mm.
try and do is say that, and I've got a bit of a joke about it. It's a TV show. I don't know whether they show it over in Ireland, but the TV show over here called Pointless is on at 5:15, and then
Okay.
House of Games is on at 6 o'clock, and both presented by Richard Osman. And so I
Okay.
normally try and say that, but the end of the day is I'm going to be sat down watching Richard Osman out of the office. So normally by 6 o'clock, I've tried to laptop down and I go and do something else. Now I may come back to it in the evening, but
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
think it's really difficult. It's really dangerous just to kind of stay on to 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock,
Yes.
because then you
Yeah.
don't get the time away from work, and I think that's really important.
There's a person in our company who will remain nameless. And I just thought it's a great idea. What he do, he's obviously working from home, but he always loved the commute to work. It was his 20, 30 minute downtime and listen to the radio or podcast. He gets into his car every morning and drives for 20 minutes in a circle and gets out of his car to go to work, which is home. And the same thing in the evening time. And it's the way of disconnecting. Yeah, when I heard it first, I thought it was strange, but
Yeah.
probably a great idea.
It
You
is, but
know,
I can imagine him like at the end of the day at 4:30. I've got to go and beat the traffic.
beat the traffic. Yeah,
Just
exactly.
drive around
Yeah,
the.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So
I know lots of people go for walks and things instead of the commute. I've seen quite a few people doing that, but I guess the weather's not too hot now. But I guess a lot of people get up in the morning, try
yeah,
and have a routine as similar as it used to be as possible. So get showered, get dressed, and then go out. I guess the
yeah,
temptation is just to sit. I mean, and Zoom's kind of ended this to a certain extent, but the temptation is really to sit in your pajamas all day. But you
yeah.
probably can't get away with that with video conferences and things.
No, no, only the top half you have to be
Yeah,
protected.
exactly.
So yeah, for sure. The when you look at back a couple of months, Chris, and when you mentioned the company, so my key is obviously uh, your business now, and like what was the main challenge as a company going to that working from home? And particularly, I'm interested. We both work in that same industry, and having the European presence and the US presence, and uh, how it all sort of transpired this year for you as a company.
Yeah, I think our challenge was, as I'm sure your challenge was, and the general MSP challenge was, and this is a huge benefit, but it caused a bit of a headache at the time, is the sort of huge amount of people beginning to work from home rather than working in the office. And then the companies they work for, the SMEs, were kind of calling the MSPs saying, we now need to get these guys working from home. We need it tomorrow. We need them to be secure. And so there's this huge clamor to get the equipment and the webcams and the VPNs and
Yeah,
everything set up, so they could work remotely securely. And obviously, as an MSP, when you're dealing with an office, you've kind of got one firewall, one wireless network, one wired network. It's relatively easy to protect that in that perimeter. But then the MSP is now kind of expected to protect, 50 different networks that may be on 45 different broadband providers with no firewall to speak of, and put Wi-Fi with no sort of protection. So I think the big challenge for MSPs was deploying that, but also they had to do it with the kind of backdrop that the companies that were wanting to do this didn't really have the budget to a lot of budget to spend. They're all kind of doing it in a rush. They're all worried about COVID, so everyone's kind of tightening their belts. So it's a little bit of a perfect storm where there was everything needed to happen so quickly, but at the same time, but no one really had a lot of budget to spend doing it. And I think that the MSP community, I think, really stepped up. That's one of the things that I'm really proud of this year. I think if we'd had this conversation last October, November, and we'd sat down and said, what would it take to get 80% of the workforce working from home? We'd have said, give us, as an MSP community, we probably would have said, give us 5 years and we'll work on a plan and we'll do it like this. And it got done in 3 months, and it just happened.
Yeah, and the trends that had been building up to that, as you said, the movement to the cloud. I mean, data storage, a number of devices. The perimeters they were changing up to that, but to move from like a 5% working from home workforce to nearly 90% in a couple of weeks is phenomenal. And likewise, we've seen MSPs and worked with MSPs through that transition. It was a phenomenal change, and credit to them for sure. But when you look out to 2021, I'm thinking of, now that workforce is established, that maybe it'll be a hybrid working environment, Chris, working from home and the office. From a security standpoint, looking out into next year, and my key, what are the key things as a company you're going to be probably focused on, and particularly with MSPs and where you help MSPs?
Yeah, well, one of the things that we're focused on, and it's a challenge that the MSP community have got as a whole, is kind of working on ways that they can position security products to their customers, which are to the SMEs, the plumbers, the builders, the hairdressers, to try and do it in a way that doesn't come across as sort of scaremongering or being opportunistic. I think that's something that I really don't like.
Yeah.
And so at the minute, we've done a great job of selling Mikey into MSPs. The next stage for us is to sort of help improve our offering in terms of helping MSPs sell Mikey into their clients.
Okay.
Obviously, being respectful of the fact that a lot of these clients into 2021 are probably going to be reduced in size slightly because of COVID. I think there's probably going to be a bit of a knock on in terms of kind of redundancies coming in. So no one wants to be going into these companies trying to sell sort of huge big ticket items and trying to sort of get them to spend a lot of money, because the money's just probably not going to be there.
Yeah.
But I think that I think it's an education thing. I think we need to, as a community of all the vendors in the MSP space, specifically the security ones, is find a way of speaking to SMEs in a way to say, it's important that you do this. This is the reason why, but don't do it through fear and through kind of, the old sort of scaremongering tactics. So I think that's what we're going to try and help MSPs with.
Yeah, that's good. That's the way to go. Yeah, I'm going to be very bold here. Gavin Woods, how are you doing?
Hiya, I'm doing well.
Great. I just couldn't help notice, Gavin, you have the guitars hanging on the wall. What's the story? You play, obviously?
I like to play. I'm not very good, but
Give
you know
it a
what
go.
it's like. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. Over Christmas
I
now.
have a wee bit more money than talent. Maybe that's it.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And where are you based, Gavin?
In Antrim in Northern Ireland.
You know it well, yeah. How are things there at the moment?
Yeah, pretty good. A bit like Chris was saying there. Things have been pretty steady. It's been an interesting time. I think, again, like Chris has said, everyone just bailed for their home, and we sort of spent the first month not really thinking about lockdown because we were working 10 to 12 hours a day trying to get people functional at home, and that worked pretty well, actually, I think, in the end. And it's just been, from then it's been a gradual sort of migration from moving people from the temporary measures that were put in, maybe to get them buy into a more permanent measure, but it's
for your
been
customer
pretty
base,
good.
Gavin, do you feel like, your customers well, I guess, do you feel that's going to be the semi-permanent solution for them? They're going to be obviously working from home first, and or is there a movement back in any way to the office?
It's a very mixed bag, I think.
Right.
So we have some people who were basically straight back to the office. There may be less so just at the moment because we're still in confinement here and up until next Friday, I think.
Yeah.
But so some people very strong on getting everyone back to the office, and then struggling, whenever we come back into a lockdown, it's.
Yeah.
I think my sort of feeling on it is that most people are going to do some of this going forward. So for us, I think we've 55 staff at the moment. About 3 or 4 of them are in the office. The other 50 are at home. And probably going forward, I would say if we get 2 days a week in the office out of them, it'll be the height of it.
And
that's really interesting.
The same. Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, sorry. I was just about to ask a question then, because over the years, this is with the MSP hat on rather than the end user, the ultimate end user. But with the MSP hat on, we've always had the mindset that sales guys can probably work from home, field guys, project guys work from home, this kind of thing. But there's always kind of been a feeling in the industry that like service desk or help desk probably need to be in a cluster in one place. And obviously that's not happened. So, I mean, how do you think that performance of kind of service desk has worked remotely? Is it been challenging, or has it not made any difference?
It hasn't really been any different. I think some people suffer. So we had 1 or 2 staff who came back and said, I really don't like this working from home thing. This is not working for me. Largely because they hadn't a good enough configuration. We spent some money with desks and things and docking units and screens just to make sure that people had that infrastructure there. But even at that, we find that a few guys, maybe some of the students, and that we would have quite a big student program, runs to about maybe 5 students a year. And those guys, a few of them really just didn't have the environment, their little office that they had just wasn't good enough, or they ended up working on a sofa or something that just wasn't working. So those guys are back in the office. They sort of make up. There's only maybe a couple really that have come back in because they really don't want to work at home because for various reasons. And then it's got better because now that the schools are back open, because I think the schools being off, we had a few staff. And I'm quite fortunate. My kids are grown up now. You know, I have an 18-year-old and a 22-year-old, so they look after themselves. But we've quite a few staff
Only when
who
they want
had
something,
young
Gavin.
staff. Sorry?
Only when they want something.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, usually.
Yeah, there we are. Yeah.
But that's pretty easy to deal with. You can handle that. You know, it's when they're pulling on your coattails at the side of your desk while you're on a Zoom call. That's the real nightmare. But no, so I think we have a few guys who are back, and probably over the week there's maybe about 10 people at the moment who sort of cycle in and out, but most people are at home, and it seems to be working. We have pretty good tools. We use ConnectWise for our desk.
Yes.
And I'm sure that'll be known to quite a number of the MSP folk. But you know, the guys have their work, they can get through it, and we can see if they're not getting through it. And we have a pretty good customer satisfaction survey scheme going. So as soon as the guys aren't doing the work, you know, the alarm bells start going off. So yeah, it's been okay.
Well, that's great. It's great to hear, Gavin. I'm delighted that you contributed. I didn't mean to put you on the spot in any way, and I won't put anyone else in the spot. But look, I'm going to go back to Chris, and Chris, we're probably going to finish it up and say cheers and good luck. We're really, really thankful that you took some time out of the day, Chris. Really thankful, guys, and our folks that are on the call to jump on. We'll probably do this again, but like, look, it's important we're all collaborating, you know, helping each other, and that's the goal here. Certainly been a rough ride throughout the year, but as we get to the Christmas season and start to reflect and look into next year, we just want to, you know, help people where we can, and these are great, you know, just to jump on, say hello, have a cup of tea or coffee or drink of water, doesn't matter.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. It's been, as I say, I kind of think it's a really good idea. I look forward to seeing the others. I think it's a great sort of distraction on a Friday afternoon, especially just to take a bit of time away from the email and things. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Thing is now, Chris, you have to come back, you see. You have to stay on, you know, so we're going to have to make this a habit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. Talk to everyone.